I offer my loving pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Om Shri Sai Ram. Brothers and sisters, welcome to part 2 of enlightening session of Sai Karuna Talks with Sister Louise again. It is my privilege that I'm honored that I'm introducing her today as well. We are all instruments to make this wonderful world a better place. Swami showed us the way within his numerous projects to help mankind. In 1981, he inaugurated the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, and in 1991, he announced the building of a super specialty hospital in Puttaparthi, providing the best medical care within the state-of-art equipment and totally free of charge to all. Few years later, he started the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust Water Project in state of Andhra Pradesh. As a severe drought for a period of over 20 years had caused devastating health problems, especially for children. Today, we will hear Louise's story of how she got involved with the hospital project and why she felt compelled to make films about Swami's mission and help mankind and lead us all by his example. Brothers and sisters, we start with a short clip about Sri Sathya Sai Super Speciality Hospital at Puttaparthi. Louise will then share with us some of her experiences.
The building is only, in a sense, like any building, is a crystallization around an extremely profound and beautiful idea. And that idea is that access to healthcare, access to hospital, highly specialized hospital care should be free to everybody.
A holy man named Sathya Sai Baba announced on November the 23rd, 1990, that a super speciality hospital would be built near Puttaparthi, declaring that the first heart operation would be performed only 12 months later. Born in Puttaparthi on November the 23rd, 1926, his birth was marked by miracles and unusual events. The site of his birthplace is now a Shiva temple. At an early age, Sai Baba began his lifelong mission of service to mankind. He says, "My life is my message."
Jai Sai Ram. We all invite Sister to have her experiences shared with us. Sister Louise.
Sai Ram, everyone. Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. You've just watched a video clip with the late Professor Keith Critchlow. He passed away in April of this year on Pink Full Moon Day. And obviously, Swami and Keith are watching us doing this interview. I just want to give you a brief glimpse and say how special Professor Critchlow was. He was a master of sacred geometry, sacred architecture, and Swami was looking for the perfect architect for his super speciality hospital. And a man called Isaac Tigret, he used to own several hard rock cafes all over the world. He came to see him in his office in London and at the Royal Institute of Architecture, and he asked him, he said, "Would you like to go to India and meet this holy man and discuss this big project in India?" So he said, "Yeah, if my wife can come, I will go and look at your holy man." And so Isaac and Keith Critchlow went to Puttaparthi, met Swami, and in the interview with Keith Critchlow, Swami said to him, he said to all the people present, he said, this architect is blind on one eye, but he can see with this eye, which I think was remarkable. And I can only vouch for that because I've had experiences of Keith Critcher seeing with the intuitive eye. He was perfectly capable to walk in the dark where I would be stumbling over stones, and he would walk on because he trusted his inner eye. The hospital of Puttaparthi is, the Super Speciality Hospital is a miracle in itself. As Professor Critcher said, it was built within 1 year, within a space of 1 year. They've designed, they've equipped, and had the first heart operation on a very young boy. And sorry, it's my nerves. It's always at the beginning of the interview. It's my nerves running away. In the West, a hospital, a building of this kind would take 7 years plus, because it's not just a box, it's not just a straightforward kind of a hospital. It is absolutely beautiful. It looks like the most precious birthday cake. And it's based on Ayurvedic principles. And I heard Swami in a talk at the medical conference, and that was a miracle for me because I was not supposed to be there, but I just happened to be outside the hospital. And this group of young doctors, they came to me and said, would you like to have a lift back into the village and to the medical symposium? And I thought, yes, please. I didn't waste a moment. I said, yes, please. I couldn't believe my luck. So I was actually sitting in the symposium, and Swami came in, and I sort of ducked down. I thought, oh my God, I'm here illegally. I don't want to be seen. But of course, he sort of looked at me and gave me a smile. Swami knows everything, so he knew I was there. And Swami said that this hospital is a 1,000-year project, and that ultimately man does not need any medicine, but it is the love of God, because we are not that far advanced to heal ourselves. It's the love of God that gives us this hospital as a gift. And I was in tears when Swami talked about it. So this is a 1,000-year project. So we'll be around, we'll hang around to see what happens in other lifetimes. And then I want to tell you how I came to making the film, The Miracle of Puttaparthi. You heard last week that I had my first trip to Swami in 1991. But in 1992, I went to Sai's celebration in London, and Professor Critcher was invited to talk about the building of the miracle of the hospital in Puttaparthi. And you already heard about my inner voice last week. So again, I felt strongly the inner voice speaking to me, saying, you've got to make a film. Now, I've been employed for German television. I've never made a film independently. It was a very scary idea for me. I also had to teach, I wasn't a camera woman originally, so I had to teach myself the skills of using a camera. And I sat there in my seat while Professor Critcher was speaking and said, oh my God, here we go again. I've got to talk to him when I get a chance and ask him if I can make a documentary about the Super Speciality Hospital. So first chance I saw him and he came across my path, and I said, look, I'm very impressed with this concept of the hospital for the poor in rural India, and I'm interested in making a documentary. And he sort of, I could feel that he briefly checked his inner eye, and he said, "Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Let's do it." So obviously you saw a little bit of the result, and a documentary came out of that. But I've never done anything like that, and I'm telling you about this because it's Swami putting ideas into this Dropbox. It's a new term, I guess, a computer term, but I see the brain as a Dropbox. So he puts this idea in, and we go and get on with the job. So my motto has become feel the fear and do it anyway. Just like giving this talk today, really. But I don't want to talk about the making of the Miracle of Puttaparthi anymore. You can watch that on saicast.org, or wait until we download a better version of it on the internet. I just want to say that after I'd made the documentary, I went back to see Dr. Sathya, the late Dr. Sathya, who was then director of the hospital, and he was always very warm and welcoming, and I felt quite at home in the hospital because I spent so much time in there filming. And he said to me that, because I was asking myself, well, what is the purpose of this? This is not for me, for my glory or whatever. This is Swami wanting this film, but what is the purpose? And there was Dr. Sathya telling me that the film raised an amazing amount of money for the running of the hospital. It's been built by donation, but it had obviously to be available for free treatment for the poor. It had to be funds, had to have funds. So Dr. Sathya now told me what the purpose was. It was for making people give funds for the running of the hospital. And I want to talk about how Swami uses us as instruments of his love. And with hindsight, so I feel that since I've been on my journey with him, everything is like a puzzle, fitting together like a puzzle. In 1997, I had a call from a devotee in London, Kiran Patel, and he asked me if I could come to Puttaparthi with him. He wanted pictures for an exhibition in his shop about the Super Speciality Hospital. So I've been looking for another reason to go there and do some filming or photographing. And so I was very happy, booked a flight, and I knew I was going, so that was fine. But a few days later, I had another phone call from a BBC journalist called Jack Pitsey. He was quite a well-known correspondent before he retired for the BBC. And he said he was given my telephone number by the Sai president. It was Emily at the time, I believe. And he wondered if I would come with him to India to make a film. He wants to meet this holy man. He told me his story. He is an atheist himself, or was. I don't know what's happened to him since, but his story was quite remarkable. He had a young daughter, I think she was 12 years old, who became very, very ill. And he didn't know what to do. He, literally, he went in and out of hospital with her, and the doctors had given up in finding any treatment, let alone a healing for this little girl. So he shared his problems with some friends who knew about Swami. And the friends said, well, let's make an experiment. We try and tune into Swami and your little girl for a couple of weeks running, every day at the same time. We pray, we meditate, and we pray. And we see what happens. And so after 2 weeks, he was completely taken aback, because every day he could watch his daughter getting better and better. So that sparked his longing to meet Sai Baba and to go to India and to find out who he was. So we started filming in London. There was supposed to be the youth conference, and so we interviewed some young people at their first gathering before going to India. And we also went to a couple of houses in North London where Vibhuti was streaming out of, I don't know how many, countless photographs of Swami, Shirdi Baba, and statues. So even I was taken aback, because I've not seen that prior to going to those houses. And but Jack Pitsey said to me, Louise, I'm going to believe in your guru when I see a miracle. And I thought, what? We're standing here in the middle of all these miracles. This is not normal. You know, nobody I know has so much dust in their house. It's quite a challenge for any housewife. And it was just streaming out. We were standing in front of the shrine in one of the homes, and the Vibhuti was just pouring out of the photographs. So if that was not a miracle, but he wanted a bigger miracle. So off we went to Puttaparthi. And he could not, because I'd booked already, he came a whole week later. So I flew to Puttaparthi first, and was very pleased to have 2 jobs to be done. So on the first day, I went with Kiran Patel to the hospital, and we were in a rickshaw, and lo and behold, in the distance, Swami's car was driving towards us, and I said, oh my God, there's Swami coming. So we quickly hopped out of the rickshaw and knelt on the road, and Swami stopped and gave us a blessing, and then drove off. And I was just completely struck, because that was so wonderful, and it was such a confirmation for me that this project also had his blessings. And we went to the hospital, and I had the freedom to walk around in all departments, the cardiology department, the neurology department, so my nerves. So, but let's put it that way. I was in every department, and I even went to film a little girl, a toddler. She was maybe 4 years old, beautiful little girl, and she was screaming, and they just had taken out of her little body 2 large kidney stones. Can you imagine, at the age of 4, a child with large kidney stones, what kind of pain she must have had? And I learned then that this was due to the toxic fluoride level in the drinking water in the Anantapur district, and this was caused by the severe drought. For over 20 years it hadn't rained, and they had to dig such deep wells that that the water was highly toxic, was over-fluorinated, and it caused bone damage and deformations, especially in children. So I went back to my room, and I was very troubled by this. And but I knew at the same time that Swami had created his water project. So I was in my room in the ashram, and suddenly I had a knock on the door, and the young student, when I opened, the young student was standing there, and he said to me, Swami would like to give you a car and an engineer, and you will go and visit the water project. So again, you can imagine my joy, and also what I want to make clear is that I didn't have the chance to ask Swami directly, like the Sai hippies in the 70s. They would have knocked on his door and said, Swami, can we go and film the water project? But I couldn't. I would have had to wait for an interview or interview. So I was extremely pleased that Swami read my mind. It was his project all along, and this is what I saw all the time, is he wanted me to go and see his work. So we went next morning. Swami supplied us with this beautiful little Maruti car and an engineer from the water project, and we drove into the countryside. And I could see for myself how dry the land was. And these are the statistics for the water project. Swami connected 700 villages to flowing drinking water. That meant 2,000 kilometers of pipelines coming from the Chitravati River, 400 bore wells, and a large number of filtration wells. And also 700 reservoir tanks with 1,000 liters of water capacity. An absolute massive project, which he undertook because he knocked on doors to have this happen and was refused. So Swami said, I'm going to take this project on myself. I'm going to help the people of Andhra Pradesh and provide them with drinking water. So I hope you're ready for the next clip, and our engineer is ready to show us the next clip of the water project.
Not far from Puttaparthi, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, is the district of Anantapur. It hasn't rained here for 25 years. To reach water, the wells have been sunk so deep that they've gone into a layer of fluoride-bearing rock. There is suffering in Anantapur. Too much fluoride does do terrible things. Sai Baba's answer is a system of reservoirs and pipelines bringing safe water to the region. As with the hospital, it's been constructed remarkably quickly and funded by charity, by devotees. The project was inaugurated by the President and Prime Minister of India. Usually, such projects are the work of governments. Nothing on such a scale has been done by a charity before, anywhere in the world. The water project brings water from the Chitravati River 100 miles away. It means safe drinking at last for 1.5 million people in 11 towns and 750 villages. 15,000 people worked on the project. One of the engineers found it a novel experience.
I have executed so many projects in so many places, but I have never seen this kind of project anywhere. It's funded by a charitable organization and purely for the cause of poor people without any other intention, just for the service of mankind.
And what is your personal feeling about the project?
Personal feeling is really it's a great project, and I can say the thirst is over now for the people.
Unlike many Indian gurus, Sai Baba has never been a jet setter. He's left India only once in his 72 years, and that was to go to Uganda to warn the Indian community there to escape the country because the mad dictator Idi Amin would persecute them, as he later did. Each year, the students of the local Sai Baba schools and university put on a display. They study the usual subjects and take the national exams, and they also study what Sai Baba calls human values. They are told that man has lost his way with technology that can destroy the world and trade that impoverishes many to make a few rich. With such tools as meditation, they are taught to contain lust and greed and anger and to respect others. The ideals they are given are common to all religions and all cultures, but Sai Baba argues that we've almost forgotten them. Education must teach how to live, not just how to make a living. Sai Baba's human values system is reported to be very successful at calming disturbed, fractious children. It's in use in schools in at least 8 countries, including the USA and Canada, Britain and Australia.
Hello, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this short video clip from a documentary called God on Earth. Jack Pizzey, whose voice is the narrator, before we go into London to Puttaparthi, he said to me, well, Louise, when I get to India, when I get to the ashram, how will we meet up? How will I find you there? And I said to him, don't worry about it. And I really sort of felt it so strongly in my heart. I said, Swami will make sure we meet up. You just don't need to worry. So he looked a bit puzzled. He thought, it's a strange meeting place, nowhere in particular. But he had literally just set foot into the ashram for 10 minutes when I met up with him outside the Western canteen. And I said, see, it worked perfectly. Swami's methods of getting people together it's just without fail. And we started filming. There was the youth conference going on, and all these wonderful young people were there, the future of our planet, the future of our world, and young people from 137 countries were parading the flag of their country, and Swami sang and gave talks, and it was just an incredible event. And perhaps some of you listening to this will remember carrying a flag and being there. And Swami's project for education in human values is more important than ever, living in these very difficult times. And I firmly believe that the future, our children are the future, and we have to give them the best. We have to give them a solid ground to stand on. And that is what Swami was doing. He has given the young generation a solid ground to stand on. And I was just completely overwhelming. And we interviewed all these young souls, who, not young souls, old souls, but in a young body. And their reasons for coming to India and being so sincere and feeling the love for Swami. It was just absolutely wonderful. While sadly, our journalist, Jack, he remained a skeptic. And I just want to sort of come in with this little anecdote, which I thought is quite funny, because he after his first darshan, we met up every day after darshan, and I saw him coming towards me from at a distance, and he looked upset. He looked angry, to be precise. And I said, "What's the matter? How come you come out of darshan looking so angry?" And he said, "There was no space to sit." And then on top of it all, the Sevadar said to him, "If you'd cut your toenails, you would have had more space." So he wasn't amused. But there you are. We all have our challenges coming to Swami. We're all on a very steep learning curve, and I must admit, he was longing so much for this elusive interview and for the miracle. He wanted to see the miracle. And one day, Swami walked along the devotees and collecting letters, and then he made a beeline for him in the darshan line. He was in the first row on the man's side, and I was very happy. I thought, "Oh, it's going to happen now." Swami is giving him attention. So Jack went on his knees and said to Swami, "Swami, interview, please." And Swami stood in front of him and waved his hands, as he always does, and gave him a mountain of vibhuti. And what happened then is actually captured on video in the documentary. He just did this. And I felt my heart, when I saw it through the camera lens, my heart just jumped. I thought, no. But here we go. It is very difficult for us humans to recognize a miracle when it's right in front of our eyes. Sometimes we're so blind, or we're looking for something else, and God sends us a miracle, but the way He thinks it's fit for us, and it's not our will, it's His will. But if we think our will has to happen, we may miss the most incredible miracle right in front of our eyes. Anyway, this is my personal thought, and you may agree with it or not, but I think sadly we are sometimes blind to what's right in front of our eyes. And Jack said to me after the interview, he said that after his experience, he said, well, he realized that in his head he's got this saying going, God make me, or Lord make me a good man, but not just yet. So I thought, well, this this was a very good and interesting insight. Lord, make me a good man, but not just yet. So I think this explains all. A few days later, we completed all our filming. On the last day, and only a couple of hours before we had to drive back to Bangalore to catch our flight, Swami walked towards me in darshan and asked me, I don't know how many times he asked me, where do you come from? And I've never been able to think of a clever thing to say. I would have liked to, but I said, UK, Swami. And he said, go. So I went off to the veranda to have an interview with Swami. And obviously I wanted to attract Jack Pizzey's attention because I wanted him to be in the interview. I could see him. He was sitting in one of the front lines, right in front of the veranda. He was given a privileged space, and on the men's section. And I waved, and the Sevadal, very kind lady next to me, she said, he's not seeing you, is he? And can I help? So both of us stood there waving and making signs, and I wish I could have whistled or something like that, but respect for where I was kept me from doing that. So Swami came back from his round of darshan and opened the interview door, and I still tried to catch his eyes and just Jack Pizzey's eyes and attention, because I didn't want him to miss this very precious interview. So but he didn't. I don't know why he could not see me, because I'm not exactly small. I'm 5'7", or I was then. I'm 5'6" now. I'm shrinking gradually, but 5'7" and with a bright sari. He couldn't have missed me, and he was only about 10 meters away from me. So why couldn't he see me? Swami's miracle. Well, Swami's mystery, I meant to say. So we went inside the interview room, and I was lucky. I sat next to Swami's chair, and the love was just pouring out of him, and it was completely overwhelming. We were a group of, there were some Americans, some English people, and some Dutch people. And there was a young man who Swami said, "It's your birthday today." And Swami waved his hand, and I saw, and for those who've seen the interview last week with me, I always see a light coming, or I saw a light coming out of the palm of his hand. And he held his palm like that, and this amazing fruit grew out of the palm of his hand. And he captured it very quickly and gave it to the young man and said, "It's a golden plum. Swami made a golden plum for you." And the young man was beaming with joy. And he said, "Eat now. It's good for you." So he started munching away on this golden, beautiful fruit, golden plum. And then he said to Sandra and Emmy Levy and myself, he said, "We go to the small room." So we went, the three of us with Swami, four of us, we went to the small interview room. And well, we all know how Swami knows our thoughts. He's omnipresent. He knows everything about us. So I think I blushed. He said to me, I know what you're thinking when you sit at home. He said, you're upset with Swami and you say, why don't I have a husband? And I felt completely stunned by his remark. And then he said, don't worry, with such love. And he looked at me, don't worry, I'm always with you. You are not alone. You're never alone. But I feel that he's not just saying that to me, but saying that to everyone, because it would be foolish to think that we're alone. It just feels that way sometimes. I think it's just, but Swami is there. And he said more things which on a personal basis, but he then turned his attention to Sandra and Emmy. And I didn't listen, I didn't hear what he said to them. I was in a complete state of bliss. And then I noticed he was stretching his feet towards me. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I had too much awe to touch his feet. I was in such awe of his closeness. And then I thought, must not miss this opportunity. And I started massaging his feet. And I thought, they're so velvety, that felt like pure velvet. And I sort of, I must have tickled him, because he suddenly giggled and he wriggled his toes, and because I was actually twiddling his toes. It was just such a blissful, wonderful moment. And I don't know, I think I'd lost complete track of time and space. The interview came to an end and we went back out into the room and sat down again, and Swami asked us some questions, and then went to his magic cupboard and picked out a bundle of ropes. And I told this story last week, but this is he wanted to give, I think he had 4 ropes in his hand, and he sort of handed out a couple, and then with the third one he came to me, and this hand came over the top quicker than a chameleon's tongue and snatched it. So I mentioned last week that my lesson in this was detachment from the material things. So my focus is on the inner view, on Swami in my heart. Anyway, as I said before, I would have loved to have that rope all the same, inner view, Swami in my heart, and a rope to hang up in my meditation room. I just want to say that more than ever, we need to apply Swami's message of truth, righteous contact, peace, love, and non-violence. Because righteous conduct is love in action. And I wish you all unity in diversity. I was always impressed with that saying, unity in diversity. We have so much conflict now because we categorize, I don't want to get political here, sorry, but unity in diversity. I wish you a peaceful, healthy, and happy life. Sai Ram. And we finish my talk today with another clip of the miracle of Puttaparthi. And I hope you enjoy that. And I wish you a very, very happy Swami life. Sai Ram.
All the workers try to follow Swami's dictum. My life is my message. We have been seeing him day in and day out. What he is doing, we try in our own little way, try to follow that.
What is difficult for the Western mind, and for a Western like myself, going to meet a holy man of his caliber, is how one copes with the experience, because we are brought up to be very discriminate and very careful and questioning about everything and making judgments all the time and looking for negatives and so forth. But one finds that in his company and listening to him and watching all the different kinds of people that come into his domain, that he is able to unify, not only unify the people, but unify an individual like oneself. One suddenly finds one's feelings and all these things being able to be drawn together in a single thing. One's judgment, the way one thinks about things, the way one opens one's affections to him is quite disarming in a way, very, very short time. I would love to do it all again, yeah. It'd be a privilege to be asked again. What more I mean, when it comes to signing off, as they say, or going on to your next incarnation, whatever, it's nice to look back and say, well, which things did you do which were most used to your fellow man? And very high on my list, maybe top, would be having the opportunity to put a hospital together, which is the second biggest one in Southeast Asia, and to have people able to go there and have free medical treatment. I mean, what else is worth living and dying for? I don't know, but for me, it would be high on my list.
Many of you, while glorifying this hospital, say, your hospital. It belongs to all of us. It is our hospital, and you're always welcome. This hospital owes its progress to the sacrifice and service of many. But the most important of all is the will of God.
Jai Sai Namo. Thank you, Sister Louise, for sharing your stories, your experiences, and wonderful video clips to all of us. May Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba bless you and keep you healthy so that you can share more information, more stories, and more experiences with us. On behalf of national level, Bhagawan has inspired millions by leading us his examples, and national level has been very kind in presenting these wonderful talks every week. And we are thankful to Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba for bestowing us Sister Louise. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, Sister Louise, a big thank you to you for sharing these wonderful experiences and video clips. Bhagawan says, love all, serve all. In the spirit of loving all and serving all, and Mahakavya mantra, Mana Seva is Mother Seva. In the current situation of pandemic, this mantra very much applies to all of us. So please remain blessed. Keep on with our services. Mano Seva is Mother Seva. Service to mankind is service to God. Until next time we meet, Jai Sai Ram to everybody. Sai Ram. God bless you all.